So I'm Jodie McAloney. I'm the Director of People and Culture for Churches of Christ in Queensland. We're a large for-purpose organisation across multiple sectors of care, child protection, aged care, affordable housing, church and community. We have 4,500 team members, from students, volunteers to employees. So we have all of those challenges that Fiona McKenzie spoke about in her briefing around the white paper. Yeah, so this has been a really challenging time for us, and it's been a wake-up call in terms of our capability to communicate rapidly, frequently, in real time. So all of the very good points that have come before me already, many of the challenges that both Tracy and Sandra have already discussed were relevant to us as well. But I think in reflection, the most critical thing that we had to do early in a very similar way to what Tracy mentioned was establish trust. So we really, in the aged care sector, highly regulated, lives really did depend on whether or not we could get this right and communicate healthcare directives, implement changes on the run. Was really, really critical. And look, we were lacking. So we did have to pivot really quickly and look at all multiple ways of communicating. We'd heavily relied on cascade communication that Fiona mentioned earlier. And what we really needed to do was remove the distance between the people in head office who were, wading through the directives and pushing out information in real time. And the real time element was a challenge. So we basically tapped into any form of communication we could possibly have. So we've gone from text messaging to emailing, and we really did overdo it. Now, we had to do that, but it wouldn't be our preferred way going forward. I mean, channeled, targeted communication is definitely the way that we will move into the future. But for us, it was really about establishing that trust, creating that trust, letting people know on the front line who couldn't work from home. So 85% of our workforce absolutely couldn't work from home. We actually needed them to keep coming to work. So they needed to trust us. They needed to be confident that we had this in hand. So for us, it was really about establishing that trust, removing the barriers between our head office and our distributed frontline workforce, and letting them know that we had their back. We were with them, even though we weren't with them. We had a couple of mantras, alert, not alarmed, planned, not panicked, and speed over elegance. And we had this acronym we kept using, GETMO, and that was good enough to move on. So we were really using communication in real time to change our practice on the run. And literally, the directives were changing 2 and 3 times a day in the early stages, and being highly regulated, we had to comply. So that real-time rapid communication really drove our pandemic strategy. Oh, it's absolutely been critical. And the reason that is it's people over task. So a lot of what we were communicating was around the requirements of practice. So what you're doing with infection control, can visitors come into the service? What PPE do you need to wear? So all of those challenges. But really, when you're looking at engagement, it's that connectedness. It's people knowing that you actually care. So the communication that we had absolutely about, was about this is what you actually need to do to keep yourself safe, to keep residents safe, to stop COVID breaking our hard barriers. But what was really important, and particularly in our Victorian sites, so I'm hearing you, Tracy, we've journeyed through these restrictions in Victoria as well. It's as much about the well-being of our people. Actually, they needed to know that we know what they're going through. I mean, wearing PPE 24 hours a day, you know, we've got team members with pressure sores. We've got, you know, we're expecting some more psychological trauma as a result of what people have had to go through on a daily basis. And, you know, one of the things that we've had to do is increase shift lengths, for example. So, you know, it's actually quite a traumatic period of time for our people. And more than just telling them, you know, how to do the best infection control and what all of the rules and requirements were, what was most important is that they knew that we were with them, that we actually really valued them, that we knew that the job that they were doing was absolutely amazing, and how proud we were that they were our first line of defence. So for me, it's really about the connectedness, and engagement is people actually knowing that we're all in it together. And that was really our key messaging, I guess, that we are all in this together. We're here for you, and just those little inspirational things that we could do on the run in very difficult times. So for us, communication is probably what has best seen us surviving this pandemic. And for aged care, it's actually really not over. So we're still in heightened states of restrictions. So COVID is still a real issue for us.